All right, turning now to the Democrats. Hey, they finally had their first debate, but let's face it, it really was the Bernie Sanders-Hillary Clinton show. Without Joe Biden in the race, she seemed to cement her front-runner status, and she scored some serious likability points. All right, so you guys watched on Tuesday night.
Did you?
You know, I watched and then I switched over to sports
I'm
or whatever.
I'm just gonna say straight off, it's too long.
The Cubs were playing too.
It's too long of a.
It does go on.
It goes on very, very long.
An ordeal.
But I will have to say that my initial impression of it, just as a whole, is it's much easier to watch a debate with just 5 people on a stage.
Yeah.
You get to know the candidates a lot better, and you get to understand the issues where they stand on them, and you get better conversation when you have a smaller amount of people. So I think that's what Tuesday night showed me. What did it show you, Nolan?
Well, I mean, this was like sending Justin Verlander down to pitch to the Mud Hens, for crying out loud. This is not a serious field of contenders. There's one person on that stage right now who has a chance to get the nomination to be president. And I think Bernie Sanders confirmed that when he let her off the hook on the email question and refused to go after her on her biggest vulnerabilities and weakness. This man doesn't want to be president. He just wants to get his message out. He wants to become some sort of prophet, if you will, for the far left. But if he wanted, he had many different times to score points on her, and he let her off. I mean, they all look like straw men up there. The other 3 have no clue why they're in the race. And you come to the conclusion, or at least a suspicion, that they're there so they can have a debate and Hillary can get her showcase. Because without them, there's no debate.
Don't hold back, Nolan. Tell us how you really feel.
That was my impression.
What was your impression?
I mean, I thought it was a really wonkish policy discussion in ways. I mean, I think lots of people were sitting there trying to Google the names of bills and ideas that they were talking about, because most people don't sit around thinking about things like Glass-Steagall, and that is a good thing. I mean, it does show that number one, you're right, the number of people makes a big difference in terms of
how was the viewership?
How much.
It was about 15. I think they said it was about 15 million people.
It was nowhere near the Republican debate. Well, and that's the contrast, right?
That's entertainment. That's a variety show.
Now,
the other side,
that is absolutely not fair. The Republican debate, aside from the Trump sideshow, you've got a good look at some candidates and their positions.
But they couldn't get a lot of time. They could not get enough time.
There's 16. They get a minute each.
Yeah, I mean, and all of the coverage of the Republican debates has been about who? Donald Trump, then Ben Carson, then Carly Fiorina, Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, the people who I still believe.
They're getting a little bit more.
I still believe those are most likely
people are watching the debate, so they are getting a chance. But I mean,
they're not coming up in the polls. I mean, they're at 6%.
I will have to say, Jim Webb did complain a number of times. He's like, they've been talking for a while. I hope I get my time. I'm like, you're wasting time complaining about that you're not getting time. Just enjoy it.
Say what you want to say.
You might as well go.
Well, and then he talks about killing people. I mean,
I will say also, though, that Martin O'Malley, who I've known since he was a city councilman in Baltimore, but who I think has not done well so far in the campaign, acquitted himself very well in the debate and got some of his ideas out there. He seemed a little nervous at times, but I think that was the first real chance people got to see him and his ideas, and it's clear that he's somebody who, even if he doesn't do well this time, is looking down the road 4 years.
I mean, that was an easy night for her. The panelists didn't ask her about her controversies at all, didn't press her on the discrepancies in her stories on these various controversies. It was a very easy night, and her opponents didn't seem to want to engage at all, and so it wasn't so much. I didn't think it was so much of a debate as it was sort of.
Well, I think she did what she needed to do to cement herself as the candidate, because for weeks everyone's like, well, is it really Hillary? And you better believe that the Vice President Joe Biden was sitting at home kind of watching to see if she was going to stumble on
this. That's a whole different night, because Biden would have went after her.
Well, but that's also who she was really debating against, right? She's debating against the specter,
the shadow of
Biden
Joe Biden
getting into the race and saying, look, don't do that because I've got this handled. And I think she did enough probably to convince him of that.
She had it handled in a friendly crowd. That would be a far different debate if she had a real opponent opposite of her, and it would have been a different debate if Biden had been on the stage, because he would not have let her off so easy. He is a serious campaigner. If he gets in the race, she will have to do a lot more explaining than she had to do.
Do you really think that they let her off easy? Do you really think that Anderson Cooper did a bad job?
I didn't think so.
He asked, what did he ask? One question about the email?
Well, most people, you know, I know that in Republican circles that plays extremely well.
And independents, which is about 60%.
That plays extremely well. I think most people are much more concerned about the substantive issues they were talking about than they are about the emails. When Bernie Sanders said, "I'm sick of hearing about your damn emails," I think he was channeling a lot of American sentiment.
He was channeling the Democratic base. Well, something's been bringing her poll numbers down, Steve.
It's not that.
And if people didn't care about these various scandals and her lack of veracity, her poll numbers wouldn't be plunging like this.
They do care.
And
I don't think they care as much about that as they do about the others.
If you had Joe Biden on the stage, a real opponent on the stage,
he would have gone after that stuff.
Bringing up the serious issues here and the serious concern here. For God's sakes, did anybody even mention the fact that she's under FBI investigation?
But Joe Biden is not. Joe Biden, who's a member of the same administration that she is not going to go after her about
if he gets in the race, he will.
Issues with these emails. How do you do that?
If he gets in the race, he will.
Well, again, this is something that she's going to have to answer, and that is going to be a tough go for her for the next several months, if not the next year or so.